filmmakers, they're, problem solvers. They solve a lot of puzzles. I mean, this movie, Myspace, is such a big thing, and it had a big era, and there's a lot of people connected to it. So yeah, talk about putting it all together and having a structure for this film. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, structure in puzzle pieces, like two separate things. The thing for MySpace was what difficult about it was, it wasn't just one story. It was millions of different stories happening in a million different ways under one umbrella of MySpace. So many people's MySpace story is, My Chemical Romance or Paramore or like emo stuff. Other people are like hip hop with like Def Jux, Cage, Mickey Avalon, or like people are in this Avenged Sevenfold or Katy Perry or Taylor Swift or Justin Bieber. All these stories are all happening all at the same time. So how do you tell that story? Right. So we focused really on like the story of how MySpace came to be, and dipped into a certain artist from time to time, with Dashboard or like stories with Katy Perry or all that sort of stuff. But the structure, my producing partner Trent Johnson's really the structure guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, what did we get to talk to Lil Jon? And he's like, well, here's the story.
Yeah.
So we had a great editor, Morgan. She was awesome, but it's the story all starts with Van Toffler at Gunpowder and Sky, where he knew these people who created MySpace for years. Van used to run MTV, and Viacom almost bought MySpace, or they tried to at least.
Yeah.
So he's just known them for years, and have had that relationship for over 20 years. So when it was time for Chris and Aber and Colin and all these people to tell their story about MySpace, they knew they wanted to do it with Van, and thankfully I was the guy that directed it, because I was a MySpace user.
Right, absolutely.
When I talk about the different stories happening at the same time, I met my wife on MySpace. We worked at the same radio station together, but I was never going to go up to her and be like, hey, how are you? My name's Tom. But I saw that she liked Freaks and Geeks on her profile, so I started talking about Freaks and Geeks, and a couple years later we get married and we come out to the Freaks and Geeks theme song,
Right.
So MySpace was like a wonderful place where people could find people that they ultimately wanted to connect with.
Man. Talk about the journey of, I mean, for a lot of documentary filmmakers going through the archives of especially for this subject, what was that like? And did you have a lot of challenges of getting the footage back of these videos on MySpace, and was there a lot of red tape involved, because some of those artists are gigantic now, right?
No red tape, but it's the craziest. It's the worst year to have any sort of documentation, because it's the 60s or 70s you have this great film, the 80s and 90s you have videotapes or mini DVDs or all these sort of different tapes. But for whatever reason, the early 2000s, it was the beginning of these digital cameras, and everything just is super pixelated, or you had a great video and you uploaded it on YouTube or MySpace when things weren't all the way cable, or it was just sort of dial-up. So the compression rate of everything is so awful.
Yeah.
Awful. And and there's no real record of MySpace pages besides the Wayback Machine.
Right.
So you go back to the Wayback Machine and you have to digitally recreate some of these pages, which is fun because I got to sneak in photos of me and my wife and my friends and all that sort of stuff, and different people that I was friends with during MySpace. I'm a big Boy Meets World fan, and I remember being able to talk to Ryder Strong on MySpace. So I got to know Ryder a little bit. I mean, when I say I get to know him, I've sort of stalked him, and he's aware that I stalk, But, But I asked him, I was like, can I use your photo in one of our MySpace recreated, because we were MySpace friends. He's like, fine, But so we got to do fun things that way and just sort of recreate MySpace pages, the new messages, new comments, all these sort of alarms that just bring a smile to yourself,
Right. And for me, I remember I was a big DJ fanatic back in the day in LA, and I would look up all the DJs that were DJing still to be big festivals that they are right now. But I would always look up, when they were coming to Toronto, and then all the tracks they were laying down on Beatport, and they would embed that to their Beatport. But you got to briefly explain the help that MySpace created for these musicians. Yeah,
I mean, it's sort of destroyed the middle. I wouldn't say destroyed. It's it gave people a workaround besides the traditional. I don't know how DJs do it, but with different artists that you write a song and you try to go to different record labels and all that sort of stuff, where like people like, you know, some of the people from like Def Jux, or like this is one rapper that I'm friendly with, MC Lars. Like he's the kind of guy that could, you know, find an audience by finding different people's interests and building an audience as friends. Like Dane Cook did it. You know, Taylor Swift did it. Like they find these people. There's this band called We the Kings. Like they were able, like they made this great emo music and just went through like Fall Out Boy's like friends and be like, hey, you like Fall Out Boy? You might like We the Kings. You know, you like Paramore? You might like We the Kings. And it was able to build an audience that way. So instead of like doing like the tours, or which they still did all that stuff, but it was like you were just there was gatekeepers before, and now you were able to build an audience without that gatekeeper, and it was a super interesting time.
So how do you think, or what do you forecast in terms of social media in the future after making this movie?
I mean, like it's so funny, like that's a question I guess people ask, you know, but like our film was really about like how it all started, you know? I would love, you know, for social networks, like I think Chris DeWolf, who created MySpace with Tom and Aber and all that stuff, he says in the film where it's like a lot of people aren't listening to each other. I think, you know, it's great that everyone has a voice, but no one's really listening to those voices. Like this seems like everyone's shouting, you know, but I don't know. That's super opinions and all that sort of stuff. We just made a movie about MySpace where it was just like the origin of everything. And like the main thing I took away from learning about MySpace is it really normalized talking to strangers.
Right.
You know, like I remember like once this is funny, my friend from New Jersey started dating a girl from Canada online, and we're like, dude, are you crazy? Like, you can't date someone online. You don't know who this person is. And he took a bus to meet her from Canada, you know. Everything worked out fine. I mean, they're not together anymore, but they didn't kill her, you know, or she didn't kill him, you know. But like, but it was, but now that was a scary thing back then. But now it's like, you know, people, I mean, bad things still do happen, but like you're normalizing. You and me are talking. We're strangers. You know, we don't know each other well, but it's okay. You know? You know, I think that's interesting that so many people I talk to on a daily basis, I really don't know. You know what I mean? I'm posting pictures of my kids and people are commenting and they don't know who I am. You know? But they think they do because of these pictures, and that's how we are. That's our culture. You know, like. Kevin Smith says it. It's like you get this validation from strangers nowadays, you know? So, I'm gonna take a sip. Thank you for the Americano.
Absolutely.
Take a sip. What if I do a sip like this?
I mean, this is a cliche question, but
I'll give you a cliche answer.
But I mean, how does it feel to have your film at Hot Docs this year? But I mean, what do you want your audience to take home with them, especially at this platform, you know?
I love the thing that you think that I have an audience. I would love. No, I mean, like, you know, I really enjoyed playing the movie at Hot Docs. I actually really enjoy Hot Docs. This is my second time here. We were here 8 years ago with our Bill Murray Stories documentary, and it was the first festival that really made you feel special in my mind. You know, because like. You know, I had played South by prior to that for that film, and you know, South by was fantastic and all that sort of stuff. But like, you know, when I arrived in Toronto, there was a person with holding my name at the airport. Like that makes a boy feel special.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know, they always put you up in nice hotels and all that sort of stuff. Where we're here right now, the Endor. Don't post this till tomorrow when I check out. No, I love the festival. Everything's great, and it's cool to be around other people who make documentaries. 8 years ago, when I played the Bill Murray Stories, I met this person named Charlie who did my dad's porno tapes. Yeah, and it was awesome. It was a short film, and me and Charlie stayed connected. And he just came out with the AI doc by the Daniels, you know. And so like he's coming out with the AI doc. I have the MySpace doc. It's like I'm talking about the past. He's talking about the future, you know. So it's like it's fun. Like we all met at Hot Docs.
Nice. And so what do you want your?
I just want to naturally drink my coffee.
But yeah, so what would you like your audience to take home with them? Yeah.
My audience, huh? Yeah, I mean, like, it's interesting to see. Like, I love scenes. You know, I love hearing stories about the comedians at the Comedy Store back in the day.
Yeah.
CBGBs, or you know, the Viper Room in the '90s, and all these different eras and different times. And you know, this is the first generation to grow up with their scene, their location, wasn't real. It was online. You were not standing in line at Studio 54 and hoping you get in.
Right.
You know, you don't have to know someone. You don't have to be pretty enough. You don't have to have that connection. All you need is a desktop computer, a password, and decent internet. You know. So this was a story about that scene.
Absolutely.
And it was the first time it was ever online. You know, and you know, Chris Carrabbo talks about Dashboard Confessional. It was like a crazy time to not just musicians and comedians, but it was the beginning of influencers. And you know, for better or worse, with what influencers are, it was the beginning of it all, and it was way more pure in that sense because no one knew how to. It was like the beginning of Growlings, you know, like people go to the Growlings now to be on Saturday Night Live,
right?
You know, but like people like Will Ferrell in the beginning, they were just going there because they wanted to be funny, you know. But because people like Will Ferrell and Kristen Wiig getting noticed at the Growlings, it becomes almost like an unpure thing where like, oh, I just do this because this is the step to do this. And that's what social media is now.
Yeah.